interface display was localized. For the HTML files, we use this same library, also extracted the text with the HTML 2PO from the translation toolkit, and the localization was done with jQuery with this library. So the other problem was when the UI get richer, we had many strings to translate, but those strings were already translated in the LibreOffice core. So the idea was to leverage as many strings as possible from LibreOffice core, and here came the idea of instead of having the strings literally in the JavaScript, we refer them with their uno command label, and we can this way leverage strings from the LibreOffice core. Also with other script, we extract some other strings from LibreOffice core, such as status bar, messages, and language names. So the result was that actually very few strings remained to be localized. The next version of LibreOffice Online, we had these tunneled dialogues, which are basically pictures coming from the core, and obviously we needed language packs installed on the server side in order to see the localized dialogues. But the problem that we had to solve was that in the case of collaborative editing, one user sees, for example, German, the other user sees, for example, English user interface by editing the same document. So the language switching by view had to be solved at the core. There are some open problems that we are working on currently. For example, the language lists are cached. These lists populated at startup with the English strings, and they remain English regarding of the user interface language. So we have to cache language dependent list per view. The other problem was that in some tunneled pop-up menus and dialogues, also there are the English command labels that are coming in. So the next issue to solve is to have different localized configuration per view.
1 more minute.
Yep. So it's the same demonstrated with the chart. So the UI is in German, but unfortunately the chart local pop-up is in English. And the last and probably the hardest problem to solve is the calc spreadsheet function names. So calc expects the same language for each view, so it is probably the most difficult problem to solve, to switch the language of the spreadsheet functions per view. So thanks for your attention. That was all.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thanks. And Svante, if you...
Oh, thank you very much. Okay. I don't see it here, but it should work. Okay, the king is dead, long live the king. I want to talk about the ODF Toolkit. The ODF Toolkit has been an Apache incubation project that was now stopped, and we are moving now to the document foundation. Applause. Thank you very much. Yeah, finally. So, do you know anything about the ODF Toolkit? Yes, you might, because... You might. Moderator, please. Wait a minute. Oh, wait. Here we go. It's just a matter of time. All right. So, you know the ODF validator. The ODF validator is a web front end, and you can use it in the back in the back end as well. So, for obvious validation, and but it's. I don't need it. I speak louder. Hello. Okay. But so instead, there's much more on the ODF toolkit. For instance, is this the way I have to do it? Yeah, no, other way. Technical support, please. Here's the left button, right. The other way around. Yes, and the centerpiece is the ODF DOM. We might call it ODF lib, like XML lib something. It's a centerpiece. It's just a library that is being generated from the schema directly to support any developer to work with ODF. And dependent on this is the ODF validator, but also the XLT runner. XLT is some scripting based on XML, but with this XLT runner, you can run directly the script on the ODF package with all the XML without the need to unpack it. That's just a usability function. There was the simple API that was in fork from IBM, and we are going to drop it. Yes! Finally. Yes, because it's ugly, a lot of code copying, and yes, it was basically a good idea of something bad development. I don't know. There they have to support something else. So this is how the basic way how this ODF lib, the ODF DOM is currently by separation of concern. Of course, one part is dealing with the package thing, right? It's a package layer, there has to be some package API. And then there's this content API that's being divided into parts, basically. One is dealing with the XML. It's directed DOM at the moment, but in the end it would be better to do it differently. Maybe not a DOM because it's supporting using a lot of resources. And there's user API in a semantic higher level, which is what I'm currently working on. But the most important thing is something that we are going to add in the 1.0, which is coming next. I already got a fork on that. That's something that prototype by type had been funded. That is something you drop in. It's something, yeah. The ODF DOM is now black box. You drop in a document, and you get an equivalent of JSON changes, like the user had been added the document from the beginning to the end. So you might ask, so why do you need it? It's the same thing, just in changes, because we are currently doing nothing else for collaboration than zipping our source code repositories and sending to others, which is stupid. And the same thing is to send documents. So instead, it should be much better to send simply changes among ODF applications. And the best way would be to standardize them so they are interoperable among them, because you're not able to work with Office 365 and Google Docs and LibreOffice Online. And it would be nice that we have a common semantic level to exchange only this and not to look at the two documents and say, oh, what have you changed? And there's no way to answer that because we have not defined what a change is. So, and this module, of course, you can do it the other way around, and then you have to change that sort of thing. And this module is used to be used at the back end, so any web application could become an ODF application because they only have to deal with the changes and the part of changes they are knowing. I tried to convince CK Edit. There's some web editor, HTML editor, online HTML editor from Poland, Warsaw, which are quite successful, like tiny something.
30 seconds.
All right. Anyway, this might become a next prototype model to get some ecosystem running to get this merging done and so on. So, if I would be done right in the sunset and said everything is wonderful, so first thing is done, we have the TDF, that's great. Then, of course, ODF editors should not exchange documents. This is like we are sending no commits but zip repositories. And then, of course, these ODF HTML editors become ODF editors, so we enlarge ourselves by using this in the backend. And finally, there would be an OASIS standard. Thank you for listening.
Next is Björn.
Oh, my.
You can leave it there and speak into that. It should probably not.
Hello. Yes. So I want to talk about SW client or it dying, which is what I talked about at the conference and gave you good reasons why it should die. I'm not going to repeat all those things. You can find them online in the slides and everything. Just a quick update. So this is what modify SW client does. It's essentially an observer pattern. You have something to be observed and something observing it.
And if something changes in the modify, it tells all the SW clients that this or that changed in form of an horrible SFX pool item, old and new and whatever. So it's horrible, but you can look at that up in the talk from the conference. Here's just a quick overview why this is horrible. Everything in SW client, or an example, SW in everything in writer is an SW client, because otherwise you can't be pretty much in writer, because these dependencies are there. And they re-register at something else, and also you usually have a void pointer to the modify, which then doesn't really point to what you expect it to point to. So this might lead to very, very horrible bugs, which we don't want. And you can see that, for example, this assumption that the thing that you're pointing to with a void pointer is the type that you once registered to happens still 96 times in writer. So what I wanted to do instead is, instead of this, have something which we already have in the source, which is SVT broadcaster and SVT listener instead, which does not do the horrible re-registering and void pointer to the observed thing. And the tricky part is sometimes you want to have a signal that goes into the observed thing and need to have it find it out at the other end. And if you migrate things over to something else, you still have the signals going in the old mechanism. So you get someone call the modify or call SW modify thing at the old SW client, but you have a new setup and that wouldn't get the signal. So what I did is I made an SW modify that is also an SVT broadcaster, and if you send something in the old mechanism, it calls all the old clients in the old way and all the new ones in the new way. So this way you can migrate things from the edges of writer, which is, for example, Unicore or accessibility, and slowly get rid of this huge ball of mud that you otherwise couldn't unroll. So one thing that happened there is this one. I caused a performance regression because I had made this SW client that is also a broadcaster. I had to introduce a virtual function, and that made writer slow, because doing something, copy-pasting a huge text with many footnotes took 15 seconds before, now it takes 24 seconds. The real question to ask is, why did it take 15 seconds in the first place? Yes. Then I found a lot of things doing this, which is the listener just listens to the observable to find out if it dies. And one question I want to ask into the audience, and I'd like to discuss with other writer hackers, if we should, in those cases, maybe just use a weak pointer, the shared pointer instead of using all this crappy observer pattern. And yeah, that's essentially the one question. The other is already the performance regression. I think how to handle that. I think we can, I could either move it up, the virtual function, or I could, so that it's not a virtual, and every SW client is also an observed thing. So those are the two questions. If there are writer hackers here, I know there are, please discuss this with me and how to solve it. Thanks, guys. this here, maybe this here.
Hello everyone, I'm Adam Kovács from Hungary. I'm working in the team of Gábor Kelemen with Balázs Varga, and we are fixing OXML bugs about charts now. So of course OXML is a Microsoft standard, but we are fixing OXML bugs because some organizations decided to use OXML. An example for a bug, you create a docx file and create a chart, a line chart, and set some line styles to it, and you save it and reload it, and the line styles converted to solid lines. Of course, we have already fixed this. This was only an example. I know in this room everybody is LibreOffice professional, but this slide will be only a little motivation for the beginners, because I hope there are some beginners who are watching the live stream now. So on your own, it is not easy to find out how to fix a bug, but the Document Foundation has very well documented tutorials. If you Google for LibreOffice development, you will easily find it. And of course, you can go to my blog, libreoffice.blog.hu, and you can use Google Translate to translate it from Hungarian, and the translation is quite good, I guess. So it describes very easy steps how to begin from zero. Some of our results so far, for example, we fixed some word wrap error in the chart titles. We are talking about OXML export or import, docx or xlsx, such files. This is about custom properties of data points. This was an export bug, some appearance bug, and some other bugs about bar charts. Of course, we have fixed some bugs so far, but those will be presented in the next LibreOffice conference. I'm sorry. And good luck for bug fixing to everybody who tries it. Thanks.
Maybe we can translate some things from your blog, put them on our.
Thank you. Of course.
Yeah, I will look after this, and I'll contact you. So,
Thank you.
everything. Yeah. I think the microphone gets interference from its own machine. So
Thank you. Thank you. It's more simple. So I can continue my first presentation. Okay, thanks. It's okay. It's okay. Thanks. Okay. So I continue my first presentation, and I will show some interesting examples about our bug fixing at NIS. In fact, these are our top 4 bug fixes, but it's hard to select the best ones. So this is all object view fix, and this is a 3 years old bug, and this is the old behavior of the old object. If you click on the picture, double click to see, try to edit the this XLS X cell, it's a little bit hard because the zoom is very bad, and if you click outside to close this one, it worse. So, and after our fix, a double click will result the same zoom, and it's for interoperability, it's quite a good thing for our users. And I will change some cell for the next example, and clicking outside, we get the original zoom, and it is working in the export too. So not only for import, you can check the our commits, but in fact we have to do some other fixes, changing the sheets, for example, and we are working on it. So our next example, it's copying between calc and writer. I will show the next example. This is a bug in the Apache, or originally the OpenOffice.org Bugzilla from 2004, but there is a double a similar bug from years before that, so 2003. But this bug has got 108 votes because it's very bad, the original behavior. So if you want to copy this Vita native table, you get an OLE object, and sometimes it's very hard to get a workaround, because the normal way would be that after our fix, I will try to make an example. Yes, so if you select a cell, you will get that you want, or for example, rewriting the original content of the cells. So it's a big step for the comfortable connection between calc and writer. And there's for example, if you try to select one cell only from a table, there is a similar or smaller thing that now it's a simple text insertion in the normal text. No, it's a old behavior, and this one the new one. So instead of a table, you will get a number, only a simple text. So, and this only two bug fixes. So I will open a file here from other Bugzilla. This one, and yes, here too. And this is about this is about change tracking. It's a very big area for our interoperability problems, and I will show this bug. After Tirana LibreOffice conference, we fixed this one. So if you, for example, convert this paragraph to heading 1 style, paragraph style, and try to save the document or switch off the show mode, you will lost this formatting. It's related to the deleted paragraph before this paragraph, tracked deleted paragraph, or try to, for example, center and make some other changes here, and etc. The similar behavior in the code, different parts related to this, so there are a few commits fixing this behavior. I will show in the same in the new, this is a daily build. When I show you the similar, for example, heading style, maybe I will, but sorry, this is the old version of LibreOffice, and this is the new. So heading style, I switch off the show mode, and yes, the style is red already. It's right, and I will show a centering and increase the paragraph spacing, and I get the same. So this is the third top bug fix, and the last one for the last minute. Thank you very much. It's my favorite, but it is a small problem for in our interoperability environment. But for me, because I work it with DTP, I try to use LibreOffice for DTP is interesting things. So if you change the page style and try to use some background color, you will get this in LibreOffice, this one. This is for the times where if you want a full wall page color, you change the sheets in your printer with a colored version. So that was no problem in that time. But now with internet, etc., we need something much more better, because it typographically it's a visual catastrophe using this one version. So a color and enter, and you can change something in the style, for example, and if you try to use multi-line or other options, you will see that it is wall page coloring. You can change the, for example, gradient. Try it with a, I don't know which is the, maybe this one, or it is a little bit green, and you will try to, if you made a PDF version, for example, I hope it will show something. Yes, it's for a brochure or for something thing. It's very useful I think it's an important feature if you want to use LibreOffice for other things, for example, for internet or PDF. Thank you very much for your attention.